Okay. And you are ready to go and just push the down arrows to switch your slides.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. My name is Mandy Williamson, and I'm a student here with Jen Haugen. I'm part of Ultra's nutrition team. I'm a senior human nutrition student with UND. And today's nutrition challenge topic is on how to reduce added sugars. So today I'm going to be talking about what are added sugars, some reasons to limit added sugars, some recommendations, the current status of Americans with added sugar intake, as well as some common sources of added sugars, and then lastly, some practical application and key takeaways. So what are added sugars? Added sugars are any sugars, natural or man-made, that are added to a food or food product. Some examples include table sugar, maple syrup, honey, and high fructose corn syrup. So what are some reasons to limit added sugar? So excessive intakes of added sugar can place you at an increased risk of developing heart disease, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, as well as certain cancers. Excessive added sugar intake can also contribute to weight gain, cavities, inflammation, and cause accelerated skin aging and wrinkles. So for some recommendations, the Dietary Guidelines for Americans recommends that you consume no more than 10% of total daily calories from added sugars. So for someone following a 2,000 calorie diet, this accounts for roughly 50 grams or less of added sugars per day. Currently, Americans average about 68 grams of added sugars per day, so this equates to about 270 calories. Some common sources of added sugars include sugar-sweetened beverages like sodas and coffees, desserts and sweet snacks, cereals, breads, and snack bars. So now moving on to some practical application. The first step in reducing added sugars is recognition. We need to know where these added sugars are coming from if we want to reduce them. So by knowing some common names for added sugars, we're able to look at ingredient labels on food products and see what ones contain large amounts of sugars and what ones are maybe reduced in sugars. So some common names for sugar include high fructose corn syrup, cane sugar, sucrose, glucose, corn syrup, evaporated cane juice, and fruit juice concentrate. All right, so I want you guys to look at these two images of the cereals on the screen. And just by looking at the cover, what one do you think contains the most added sugar? You think the one on the right? Mm-hmm. So when we turn it over and look at the nutrition labels, the picture on the left of the Smart Start cereal has 18 grams of added sugar, while the Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal has 12 grams of added sugar per serving. So just, by using this example, this shows that it's not always possible to guess how much added sugar a product has just by looking at it. We also need to look at the nutrition and ingredient label. So here is a picture of the nutrition facts labels that are found on all the food products. And how many of you have seen this before or are familiar with it? So number 1 there in blue, that points to the amount of total sugars a product has. So this includes the naturally occurring sugar and then the added sugar that the manufacturers add into a product. Number 2 is the one that points out the amount of added sugars involved in the product, and that's the main number that we want to be aware of for reducing our sugar intake. Okay, so how do we choose lower sugar options? So based on, let's see, the FDA, they say that high sources of food containing sugar would contain about 20% or more of your daily value. So this would equate to about 10 grams or more of sugar for someone following that 2,000 calorie diet. Food is considered low source of a nutrient such as sugar if it contains less than 10% of the daily value, or about less than 3 grams. So if you remember 10 grams and 3 grams, 10 grams would be a high source of sugar, 3 grams or less would be low sources of sugar. So here's some more practical application tips when it comes to cereals. So for cereals, a good rule of thumb is just kind of look for cereals that contain 10 grams or less of added sugars. And this is for individuals following a 2,000 calorie diet. Another option would be to combine a high sugar cereal, such as the Frosted Flakes, with a low or no sugar cereal, such as Corn Flakes. This way you can still get that sweetness and satisfaction from your favorite sugar cereal, but you're able to reduce the amount of sugar that you're consuming. When it comes to yogurts can be a surprising source of added sugars. So for this Yoplait yogurt, just by looking at the cover, it looks like, oh, it's a great choice for a breakfast or snack. I have my protein with the yogurt. I got a source of dairy. I even have some fruit in there. But when we look at the nutrition label, we see that there's 14 grams of added sugar. So a better alternative, or one that would contain less added sugar if that's something you're looking to reduce, would be to make your own yogurt at home. And you can do this by getting your choice of plain or unflavored yogurt. Greek yogurt is a great choice if you want to improve the protein content. And then you can add in your own flavoring. So this could be like fresh or frozen fruit. You could sprinkle on a little bit of cinnamon, or even put a little bit of lemon zest. And when it comes to whole grain products such as breads, this is another area in which sugars can kind of sneak their ways in. Hello.
Come on in.
All right, so we're just talking about how to reduce added sugars in your diet. We kind of talked about just the recommendations for Americans, and then we're moving on to practical applications or ways in which we can reduce added sugars. So for this slide, we're looking at whole grain products, specifically bread. So especially when it comes to whole grain, we know that whole grains are good for us, but a lot of manufacturers take the whole grain advertising and they add in sugars to make it taste better. So can you guys see this screen okay, or is the font a little small? Okay, so here is an example of two separate products from the same company. So the product on the left has about 10 grams of added sugar, and that's per 2 slices, which most people have 2 slices, like when they make a sandwich. The same brand also offers a whole grain bread option that only has 2 grams of added sugar per serving of 2 slices. So as you can see here, it's also important to look at the nutrition label. So you don't have to switch brands or forgo whole grains. You can still find healthier choices that are lower in sugar. You just might have to take a little closer look at the nutrition label. So when it comes to sugar sweetened beverages, this is where we're consuming most of our added sugar here in America. So just some practical ways we can reduce the amount of sugar consuming through these beverages is either reducing the serving size. So if you're usually getting a large soda at a restaurant, maybe knock that down to a medium or even small. Or maybe you can just skip the soda and go for a carbonated water if you're still wanting something fizzy. So the reason we want to reduce, or might want to consider reducing sugar sweetened beverages through soda, is because a 12-ounce serving of soda contains 37 grams of added sugar. And that equates to about 150 quote unquote empty calories. And we say just empty because it's not offering many other nutrients other than like the added sugar. So it doesn't have any other nutrients that are adding or helping improve our health. So here's just an alternative to the sugar sweetened beverage. So if you're still wanting that carbonation, some people like the soda because of that carbonation that they get from it. So we could add sparkling water. So 12-ounce serving wouldn't have any added sugars. You could add some natural flavor and sweetness by either doing a splash of 100% fruit juice, or even adding in fresh or frozen fruit like berries, lemons, limes. Those could all be ways you get that carbonation, and then you get that natural flavor and sweetness with the fruit add-ins. And then for coffee, a simple solution could be to take it black. So ask for no added sugar or no added syrups. Otherwise, you could ask for no whipped cream on your Frappuccino. That could take care of a good amount of added sugar as well. You can reduce the number of syrup pumps. So I know at Starbucks or Caribou, you can ask for just 1 pump instead of the usual 3, or you can even ask for like the reduced sugar syrups instead. This can lead, just by reducing the number of syrup pumps from 3 pumps down to 1, this leads to a 50% reduction in added sugar. So it takes your beverage from containing 20 grams of added sugars, and it brings that down to 10 grams. And many times when you make these changes, the beverage still tastes just as sweet. So you're not losing out on the satisfaction factor of that. So lastly, just some key takeaways. Overall, we want to focus on moderating our sugar intake. So we don't have to completely eliminate sugar. Let's just try to aim for the 50 grams or less per day for those of us following the 2,000 calorie diet. Also, buyer beware, just because a product looks healthy or has a marketing claim of being whole grain or low fat doesn't mean it's necessarily healthier for you. It's important to look at the nutrition label and ingredient list as well. Also, take advantage of nature's candy. Find ways that you can use fruit, which is naturally sweet, to add sweetness and nutrients such as vitamins, minerals, and fiber to the foods that you enjoy. And lastly, small changes make a big difference. So I just want you guys to think of what's one small change you can make to reduce added sugars in your diet. And does anyone want to share? They have one off the top of their head.
I think reducing the syrup pumps in coffee. That's a great idea because it really, you don't notice the change in the flavor. It still is adding that flavor, but it's not as much, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great option.
Yeah, so my main point is you don't have to take out all the syrup if you don't want to. You can still enjoy the sweetness too, because sugar does taste sweet. Like we all know it does. So it's okay just to enjoy it in moderation. So then these are my sources. And are there any questions?
I know that was really eye-opening when you showed the cereal, right? So in the beginning, when you showed the cereal of like the healthy, like that just looks to be healthier, right? And like you said, you can be fooled by that, like Smart Start, right? Versus the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Most people, just by looking at that, would say, oh yeah, Cinnamon Toast Crunch for sure has more. But like you said, when you actually look at the label, the Smart Start has more, which is surprising. So it is important to kind of delve into the label reading and ingredients, but then know exactly what you talk, like what to look for and how much is high. So that 10-gram rule, I think, is a great option to look at that, and then looking through those ingredient names, because sometimes just sugar isn't on it. It's sometimes called something different. So those are important tips. So thank you so much for sharing those.
Yes. Any other questions or comments or things that you found interesting from today? Well, if not, I just want to thank you guys all for your time today, and feel free to reach out to the team at Altru with any more questions or concerns.
Well, thank you so much, Mandy, for all that great information. Let me stop. That. Okay.